I hope you've enjoyed the indoor photo session so far. Now that we've come to the outdoor shoot, sorry, but I do need to talk about exposure again, because it's kind of a different mindset to indoor exposures. And that's because when we're outside during the day, you've got a whole lot more ambient light to contend with. And instead of trying to shut out the ambient light, like we did indoors, now we've got to balance the ambient light with the flash. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, let's say you have a lovely summer's day with a beautiful blue sky, and you want the sky to be nicely exposed in the final image. You also know that you're shortly going to introduce flash, so you set your camera to the maximum sync speed, 2/50th of a second, and you set the ISO to 100. You take the picture, click, and you've got a great shot of the sky. Lovely colour in the sky, and the aperture that the camera gave you was f/16. So the settings were 2/50th of a second, ISO 100, aperture f/16. Those are fairly typical settings for a bright sunny day. Now you put your portrait subject in front of that sky and take another shot. What happens? Your poor subject, who gave you such a lovely smile for that shot, is now practically silhouetted against the sky. You can't even see their face, it's that dark. So now you want to light your subject with the flash. The trouble is the aperture controls the flash exposure, and f/16 is a very small aperture. In order to balance the light from the flash with that of the ambient light, you need to get f/16th worth of light from that flash. And let's say for the type of photo you've got in mind, a wide shot, the flash has to be, say, 6 feet away from the subject, and you're going to be using a shoot-through umbrella, say. And if you set your flash to full power, you'll probably get an aperture of around f5.6, give or take. So if you put your subject in front of the sky again and take the same shot with the flash, even on full power, the flash will make no difference, because it's only giving you enough light for f5.6. You need for it to get past f8, past f11, up to f16. So you need 3 more stops of light from that flash. Now, this is the crucial part that you need to consider and think carefully about. Okay, you say, I'll increase the ISO from its current setting of 100. ISO 200 will give an aperture of f8, ISO 400 an aperture of f11, ISO 800 an aperture of f16. And you think, that's it, I'm there. The trouble is the ISO not only makes the camera more sensitive to the light from the flash, it also makes it more sensitive to the ambient light. So your sky will now be overexposed. Aha, you say, I know, I can increase the shutter speed. Uh-oh, you're already on the maximum sync speed. You're already at the fastest speed you can use with the flash. You might think, oh, hang on, I could put a neutral density filter on the lens, and that would knock 3 stops of light off the sky. Yeah, you're right, it would. But it would also knock 3 stops of light off your flash. So you're back to square one again, and still have that 3 stops difference. If you change the ISO to brighten things up, everything moves up that way. No good. If you use a neutral density filter to reduce the light entering the lens, everything moves this way. Still no good. So what's the answer? Well, you need more light from the flash. Let's say that instead of full power, you say half power on the flash. You could up it to full power, and in so doing, you double the light output. And that doubling of flash power has gained you 1 aperture f-stop. But you're on full power already. 1 flash on full power has given you f5.6. What you can do is bring in another flash on full power. That gives you f8. By the way, you can use more than 1 flash simply by using a special type of flash mount on the light stand. Now at f8, you're now 2 stops away from your target of f16. So you pick up 2 more flashes. Again, doubling the light, you're now at f11, 1 stop away from your target. You're almost there, just 1 more stop to go. But now to double the light and to reach f16, you need another 4 flashes. Well, 4 was bad enough to start attaching and worrying about. 8 flashes is the straw that breaks the camel's back. Sure, it's giving you f16, but it's not realistic. How can you cope with that many flashes? How are you even going to mount them on a light stand? The answer is you wouldn't. Instead, you'd find another way around the problem. Here's what you can do. You can purchase a larger, more powerful and more expensive strobe like this one. You take it out, plug it into its battery pack, fire the flash through an umbrella at 5 or 6 feet, and bang, straight away you've got f16 right out of the box. Those type of lights are obviously more expensive, but much cheaper and convenient than buying 8 speed lights along with the required triggers. The other thing you can do is to use more sophisticated triggers on flashes that do high speed sync. Now, I explain high speed sync in another video which you'll find elsewhere on this course. That will allow you to use faster shutter speeds. So you can go from 2/50th to 500th to 1000th to 2000th to 4000th. That's 4 f-stops. So now instead of the ambient light requiring you to be at f16 at 2/50th, it now only requires f4 at 4000ths of a second. You now only need f4 from your flash. But there's a small problem. I know, there's always something, isn't there? High speed sync loses you some flash power, and the higher the shutter speed, the more power you lose. But you could double up the flashes to give you an extra stop, so that's not a bad solution, but one that requires a high-end camera and more expensive flashes, and also triggers and receivers, all of which need to be capable of doing high-speed sync. So finally, after all of that, here's my favourite way of balancing flash with the ambient light using budget flashes and manual triggers, just like the ones we've been using so far in the indoor shoots. It's simple. You do not attempt to shoot in bright sunshine. Instead, you shoot at dusk when the ambient light is much lower. You'll still get your beautifully exposed blue skies or darkish background, but you won't be fighting the ambient light. If you go out with one of these in bright sunshine and expect to use off-camera flash, you're going to be so sorely disappointed. It's winter here in the UK, and in the following outdoor photo sessions I'll be shooting late afternoon when I'll have far more manageable ambient light levels. So see you in the next video. Bye for now.